Hi everybody, this is Rich from the Rich Max World channel. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, the channel's about drones, photography, gadgets, and generally just cool stuff like that. So also talking about videography. And in this video, going to be talking about the Sony A7RIII. So the Sony A7RIII is a camera that I picked up about 6 months ago, and I did make some initial videos about the camera for my channel, and they got a really good response. I got a few people subscribing and a few comments that I'd helped people with their buying decision about picking the A7RIII. So really good things. So I thought I'd just put together a few more videos about the A7RIII in case people have subscribed specifically for that sort of content. So this video talking about the Sony A7RIII for video production and why it could be a really good choice if you're looking to get a camera to shoot good video. So the Sony A7RIII, as we know, it's Sony's large format, high megapixel camera offering. It's a generation out of date now. There is an A7R4, but unfortunately I don't own that one. It's a lot more expensive, and really the features that it offered I couldn't really justify paying the massive amount more for. So that's why I've got an A7RIII. So talking about it for video then, there's a lot of positives to the A7RIII. It really is a beast of a camera and can get you some great video footage. So the things that I've really liked about it in the time that I've owned it have been the battery life. The batteries on this last ages, and they're really cheap as well to pick up if you need some spares. If you need some third-party batteries, you can get them on Amazon or eBay, really cheap. I think I paid about 26 UK pounds for a couple of spare aftermarket camera batteries for this, and they worked really well. And next point that's a real positive about it is the autofocus. So a lot of people for video production like to just use manual focus anyway, but I can be a bit lazy sometimes, and I like to just use the autofocus. And if the autofocus is reliable, locks onto your face well, and is going to shoot you, crystal clear, then why not use it? It saves having to mess around with the manual footage. So that's the reason I do use autofocus quite often. And when I'm putting together videos like this, talking at the desk, autofocus is great. I can just set the camera going, and I know I'm going to be sharp and in focus. So it's a really good autofocus system. It's fast, it tracks really well, and yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with the autofocus. It's very reliable. And next point that makes this a great camera for video production is the picture profiles. So within the picture profile settings, you've got various options. Sony gives you loads of different options that enable you to color grade and get the most out of your footage, or you can just put it onto a picture profile like Picture Profile 1, where you won't really need to do any grading in post-production. But they offer things like HLG, S-Log, 123, and various other options to give you lots of customizability and a lot of features to be able to grade really effectively. So that's another real positive about this. And another thing that I found really neat and useful is the APS-C mode. So APS-C mode enables you to just use a smaller part of the sensor, sort of crop in on the sensor, but that means your lenses, they get a 1.5 magnification. So if you're using say a long lens like the Tamron 180, 70 to 180 that I own, I can make that into a 270mm lens by using the APS-C mode. So that's great if I want to film something that's really far away, like I'm at a zoo, and I want to film something like, I don't know, the birds or otters or whatnot. I've got that option, and it's still in 4K, still really good quality, as the 4K image on this sensor is actually sort of downsampled from the whole sensor, and then in crop mode it's still just downsampled down to the image mode that's only about 9 megapixels. So it retains so much quality even using that APS-C mode in video. Next up, a great feature is the frame rate options. At 4K, you've got the option to do 30, 25, 24 frames per second, and then at 1080p, you can do 100 frames per second, which is brilliant if you want to do some super slow-mo, or if you're in an NTSC region, you can set that to 120 frames per second to get even slower footage. So that's a real handy feature if you want to incorporate some slow-mo into your videos. And another thing that I really like about the camera is that you can use custom buttons to make things really fast to set on the camera. So you've got various custom buttons. I use a custom button to be able to flip between APS-C mode and normal full frame shooting mode. Mode, which is really handy when out and about and not having to then go into the menus to mess around finding that option. So you can set anything you want really to the custom buttons in this camera. So that could be really useful if you have several options that you change regularly on the camera and you want to make them easy to find. And next up, great feature is to have the microphone input and audio output. So that means you can monitor your audio levels, make sure you're getting the right audio. You can obviously hook up an external microphone. As we all know, that in-camera microphones have their limitations. They can be okay. They're not too bad on this Sony, but personally I use a Rode VideoMic Pro and always would if I was out and about. So it's great that you can actually use an external microphone. And with the Sony E-mount system, you've got great options in lenses. So I've mentioned that I use the Tamron lenses, so I've got the whole Tamron Zoom trilogy, the 17 to 28, the 28 to 75mm and the 70 to 180. So these are great budget alternatives to the Sony E-mount lens offerings. But there's more and more lenses coming out for the E-mount cameras. Sigma are putting together some really good options and releasing new things all the time, and there's new primes coming out all the time from Tamron, Sigma and Sony. So it's a great system to buy into. It seems like it's a system that Sony's putting a lot of investment into, and all their newer cameras also use the E-mount system. So when you move up to a more current, more expensive camera, you're still going to be able to use all of the same lenses. So that's great about it as well. The only negatives that I've come across with using this camera for video is that the menu can be a bit sort of convoluted. It can be a bit difficult to find some specific features at times, but like I said, have got the custom buttons, and also there is a custom part of the menu where you can assign things that you regularly need to access. So it's not too much of an issue, but just a minor point to mention, as some people might be used to much easier menu systems on the Canon or Nikon systems. Not really sure how those menu systems work nowadays because I've been using Sony for so long, but they might be a bit less complicated and might need a few less clicks to find things. Also 4K, it's not at 60 frames per second, whereas some of the more modern cameras do give you that option. Things like the Sony A7RIII, of course, is going to give you that option, and the A7 IV, when it comes out, will more than likely, I would think, incorporate that as an option. But it's not an option on this camera, but we have got the 1080p Slowmo option, so you can do that at 60 or 100 frames per second, as I said, so it's not too much of a big deal. I mean, how often do you really need 4K footage in Slowmo? Most of the times you can get away with just using the 1080p footage and upscaling it to 4K. And another negative for some people is that it doesn't have a flip-out screen, so you can't see yourself when filming. So that can be a bit of a pain, as it is nice to be able to check that you're in focus sometimes and just check your framing from looking at the monitor if it flips out to the side or above the camera. But that's not an option on this camera, unfortunately. Thankfully though, the autofocus is really good, like I said, so I'm always confident that I'm in focus when I'm just filming myself, when I'm vlogging, or when I'm doing videos like this where I'm sat at my desk talking. So I hope this has been useful, and I hope this will help you if you're trying to decide whether to get a Sony A7R III and you're mostly looking to do video with it. My personal opinion is just to go for it. It's a superb camera, really well built, it's a solid camera, and I don't think anyone could be disappointed with this as a video camera or a hybrid camera, as it is obviously a superb photography camera too. So I hope you found the video useful. Please give it a like, subscribe, and join me again soon. More Sony A7R III videos on the way, and more drone photography and generally cool gadget videos soon too. Bye for now everyone, hope you all have a great day.